When their warmth has an expiration date, it creates a specific kind of confusion that can hijack your whole nervous system. Because it is not a clean rejection, and it is not a stable bond. It is timed closeness. One day they are affectionate, present, playful, even tender in the way you have been waiting for. The next day, their tone goes flat, their replies slow down, plans get fuzzy, and it feels like a door quietly closed without an argument and without an explanation. You do not just feel disappointed, you feel unsafe. Not because they are a villain, but because your body uses consistency as a safety signal. And when the safety signal disappears after you were just held, your nervous system does not register it as a neutral shift. It registers it as danger. So you start scanning. You replay everything. You wonder if you said too much, wanted too much, felt too much. You start trying to earn the warmth back, and that is exactly how the pattern turns into a loop. In this episode, I am going to name what this pattern actually is, why it happens, why it hooks an anxious system so hard, what it looks like in real scenes, how to test for capacity quickly, and what to do so you stop paying for closeness with anxiety. If this kind of clarity helps your nervous system settle, subscribe. PsychBond is a daily decoder for psychology, relationships, and avoidant and anxious attachment patterns, so you stop guessing. Here is the first truth that changes how you interpret everything. Warmth that expires is not proof that the warmth was fake. It is proof that warmth is being offered as a moment, not protected as a baseline. It is connection on demand, not a relationship structure. The warmth can be real and still vanish when closeness starts to feel binding, expectant, or exposing. That is why it feels personal to you, but it is often procedural inside them. The warmth shows up when closeness feels safe and rewarding. The warmth expires when closeness starts to feel like expectation, responsibility, dependence, or loss of control. And if you are anxious, your nervous system reads warmth as safety, so you attach harder when it is present. Then the expiration hits, and your system does what it always does under uncertainty. It tries to solve the problem. It tries to restore the last good moment. It tries to become more perfect so the warmth lasts. That solving becomes the pattern. And this is where people get tricked, because your body bonds hardest right before the loss. The moment they are close again, your system feels relief. Relief is one of the strongest bonding signals in human attachment. Then the cooling creates threat. Threat makes you focus. Focus turns into rumination. Rumination makes them feel bigger than your life. Then, when warmth returns, you feel relief again, and your brain calls that relief love. So the pattern can feel like destiny when it is actually your body responding to contrast. Once you understand this, you stop worshiping the highs and you start protecting yourself from the crash. Let us define the pattern in plain language. The pattern is closeness without continuity. It is intimacy without accountability. It is affection without follow-through. It is partner energy in the bubble and distance outside the bubble. It is a bond where the baseline spikes and drops instead of steadily rising. You end up bonded, but not held. You end up emotionally loyal without structural loyalty. And because the warm moments feel so real, you keep telling yourself the relationship is real. But then you keep living in the cold gaps where you do not know where you stand. That gap is the entire problem. The gap is where anxiety grows, The gap is where you bargain with yourself. The gap is where you shrink your needs. The gap is where you manage your personality. When someone has an expiration date on warmth, you are not in a relationship that grows. You are in a restoration cycle. You spend your emotional life trying to restore what you just felt. Now, why is this so hard to leave? It is not only that you like them, it is that your body learned that safety is possible with them because the warm moments feel regulating. So your body keeps chasing the version of them that was soft. You keep thinking, that was the real them. That is who they are underneath the fear. Sometimes that is true. They may genuinely have warmth inside them, but a relationship is not who someone is at their best moment. A relationship is what they protect consistently. So the question is not, are they capable of warmth? The question is, do they have the capacity to sustain warmth when closeness creates expectation? This is where anxious people get trapped. Because you keep measuring love by moments. You keep measuring progress by peaks. But the baseline between peaks is the relationship. If the baseline is uncertainty, you will live in anxiety, even if the peaks are beautiful. Now let us break down why warmth expires in avoidant attachment without making it complicated. After closeness, a pressure rises. That pressure can come from exposure, expectation, or responsibility. Exposure means warmth required openness. Openness makes them feel seen. If they learned that safety equals self-containment, being seen can feel like losing armor. So after a warm night, they can wake up feeling exposed and they want their armor back. That looks like distance. Expectation means warmth raises the baseline for you. After a connected night, you naturally expect more consistency, more contact, more clarity. In an avoidant system, that expectation can feel like a claim, even if you never demanded anything. The bond now has weight. Weight can feel like loss of freedom, so they pull back to reduce the weight. Responsibility means warmth creates attachment. Attachment creates impact. Impact creates responsibility. Some avoidant people feel the responsibility of what their presence does to you, and they do not feel capable of carrying that responsibility, so they withdraw to reduce impact. They might not think it clearly. They might simply feel tight, restless, irritated, or blank. They call it being busy. They call it needing space. They call it being tired. The label is not the truth. The truth is that closeness activated threat and distance lowers threat. Now let us talk about how this pattern looks while it is happening, because many people miss it and keep calling it chemistry. It rarely looks like constant coldness. It looks like bursts of warmth that arrive at specific times. They are warmer after you pull back, not after you ask for more. They get affectionate when they sense you slipping. Then, once you settle, they cool again. They can talk for hours about their stress, their day, their inner world, but they go blank when you talk about the relationship. They love being close, but they hate being counted on. They can be devoted in private, but inconsistent in between. The warmth is high in the bubble, then expired outside the bubble. This is why you start living for the bubble. You start measuring your week by the last warm moment. You start feeling calm only when you have access, and you start feeling shaky when access disappears. Let me make it concrete with scenes, because your body recognizes scenes faster than theory. Scene 1 is the connected night. They open up. They tell you something vulnerable. They hold you like they do not want to let go. They say something intimate like, "I feel safe with you," or "I have not felt this with others," or "I am glad you are in my life." You feel relief. You fall asleep soft. The next day, your message sits. Replies slow down. Their tone is flatter. You start scanning. Did I come on too strong? Did I respond wrong? Nothing. What happened is exposure. They felt open, then they felt exposed, and distance gave them containment again. Scene 2 is the perfect date. They plan it. They are thoughtful. They look proud to be with you. They act like a partner. You think, finally, the baseline is rising. Then, the next 2 days, they are vague. Plans do not lock. They do not initiate. You feel foolish for believing it meant something. What happened is expectation. The date created meaning. Meaning created the feeling that the relationship is moving somewhere. That movement triggered their fear of being bound. Distance reduced the feeling of being bound. Scene 3 is after intimacy. You have sex that feels bonded. They cuddle. They stay soft longer than usual. They do not rush away. You think, finally, we are safe. Then the next day, they feel colder. Maybe they respond like you are asking too much when you asked nothing at all. Maybe they get busy suddenly. Maybe they act slightly irritated. What happened is responsibility. Warmth made them feel how real the bond is. Realness creates impact. Impact can feel like obligation. Distance reduces obligation. Scene 4 is the moment that breaks most anxious people. You have been warm together for days. They are calling. They are affectionate. They are acting devoted. You ask one calm question, something normal, something adult, something that should not scare a secure partner. You say, I like you. I want something steady. What are we building? And the warmth expires right there. They do not answer the question. They answer your character. They say you are making it serious. They say labels ruin things. They say you should relax. Or they go quiet. This is where you finally see it. Warmth was tolerated while it felt free. Warmth expires when it becomes accountable. Now, if you are anxious, here is the moment you usually intensify the loop without meaning to. You start explaining. You start softening the question. You start apologizing for wanting what you want. You write paragraphs to prove you are reasonable. Your nervous system is trying to earn safety with words. But to an avoidant nervous system, long explanations can feel like more pressure. Not because you are wrong, but because their body hears demand. So your strategy to create closeness can create more retreat. That is why the answer is not more words. The answer is more structure. The pattern breakdown approach is simple. Stop chasing warmth. Require a baseline. Stop trying to extend the warm window. Ask for continuity. Stop rewarding the disappear and return cycle with full access. Because the cycle is trained. Every time they go warm, then cold, then return, and you reset with full intimacy, full emotional availability, and no repair, you teach their nervous system that the cycle works. They get closeness, then relief, then closeness again without accountability. You may call it forgiveness. Your nervous system may call it relief. But the relationship system learns a rule. Withdrawing is allowed. And if withdrawing is allowed, warmth will keep expiring because there is no reason for them to build a different skill. That is why the return must come with repair, not punishment. Repair is not a dramatic conversation. Repair is structure. Repair is naming the pattern, taking responsibility for the impact, and offering a different behavior next time. Warmth is not repair. Time passing is not repair. A sweet text is not repair. Real repair is simple and specific. It sounds like, when I feel overwhelmed after closeness, I will not go quiet. I will tell you I need a day to settle, and I will check in tomorrow evening. Or it sounds like, I pulled back because I got overwhelmed. I should have communicated. Next time, I will send a message with a return time. That is repair. That is how warmth stops expiring into harm. Now we need to talk about the biggest trap in this pattern, because it is the reason people stay for months and years. The trap is that you start shrinking your needs to extend the warmth. You start managing your words, your timing, your tone, your expectations, your requests, like you are diffusing a bomb. You start acting chill when you are not chill. You stop asking questions because you do not want to trigger the expiration. You stop bringing up needs because you do not want to be called pressure. You accept inconsistency as a personality trait because you want the warm version to stay. And slowly, you stop being in a relationship and start being in a management system. You become a curator of their comfort. You become a caretaker of their autonomy. You start measuring your worth by how long you can keep them warm. That erodes self-respect. And the worst part is that you start calling it maturity. You tell yourself you are being patient. You tell yourself you are giving space. But if your space is coming from fear, it is not secure. It is self-abandonment. Space without standards is abandonment training. So the goal is not to become low need so their warmth lasts longer. The goal is to be in a bond where warmth is stable because the person has capacity for closeness. Let us separate warmth from capacity in the simplest way. Warmth is the feeling they can give you in a moment. Capacity is what they can sustain when the moment ends. Warmth can happen in anyone. Capacity is rarer. Capacity is the ability to stay present when closeness creates discomfort. Capacity is the ability to communicate a need for space without disappearing. Capacity is the ability to repair after a rupture. Capacity is the ability to follow through. If someone has capacity, warmth does not expire into punishment. It might fluctuate, but it does not collapse into silence and vagueness. So how do you test for capacity fast in this specific pattern? You do not test it by waiting. You test it by naming the structure and asking one clean question, then watching behavior. You say, I enjoy being close with you. When the tone shifts after that and you go distant, it does not work for me. If you need space, tell me and give me a time you will reconnect. Then you stop. No speeches, no convincing. Their response is data. If they respond with clarity and follow through, there is capacity. If they dodge, blame, or disappear, you have your answer. And getting your answer is a win, because truth settles the nervous system, not warm moments, not hope, not potential. Truth. Now, let us talk about what to do inside the cold gap, because that is where people either regain self-respect or lose themselves. The cold gap is the part that feels like you are waiting, but you are not just waiting, you are scanning. You are checking your phone and checking your mind at the same time. And the easiest way to lose weeks of your life is to keep negotiating with the gap, to keep sending one more message for reassurance, to keep doing temperature checks, to keep trying different tones to see which tone brings the warmth back. The rule that protects you is simple. Do not negotiate with silence. One message is enough. Then you return to your life. And the message is not a plea. It is a standard. You can say, I feel the distance. If you need space, that is fine. Please tell me when you will reconnect. Then stop. If they answer, you now have a structure. If they ignore it, you now have clarity. And if they come back later pretending nothing happened, you do not punish them. But you also do not reward that move with full access. You require repair. Because the difference between a relationship and a cycle is repair. Now, let us talk about fake repair, because this is where people lose months. Fake repair is, sorry, I was busy. Then it happens again. Fake repair is, I just need space. With no return time, no plan, no responsibility. Fake repair is, you know how I am, which is really code for adapt to me. Real repair is naming the pattern, owning the impact, and changing one behavior. It can be small and still be real. It can sound like, I felt overwhelmed after we got close and I pulled back. Next time, I will tell you I need a day, and I will check in tomorrow evening. That is it. If someone cannot do that, they do not have a repair skill. And without repair, your relationship will always feel like warmth with an expiration date, because nothing is stabilizing the baseline. Now, let us talk about the question that keeps anxious people stuck, because you think asking it means you are needy. The question is, what am I allowed to count on? That is not pressure, that is reality. A secure bond answers that question without turning you into the villain. So when you ask for a baseline and someone treats it like an attack, do not debate them. Do not prove you are reasonable. Just notice what happened. Your request for clarity activated their threat response. That is information. Now, I want to address the objection that keeps many people negotiating with themselves. Maybe they are just busy. Maybe they have work stress. Maybe they are depressed. Maybe they have family problems. All of those can be true. Real life happens. But here is the rule. Busy does not erase respect. Stress does not erase communication. A hard week does not require silent punishment. If someone is busy but has capacity, they can say, I am slammed this week. I care about you. I will call you Thursday night. If someone is stressed but has capacity, they can still keep a baseline. The expiration date pattern is not one busy week. It is warmth, then cooling, then return, then cooling. Repeating, especially after closeness. That repeating is what matters. Another objection is, maybe I just need to be patient. Patience is beautiful when there is growth. Patience is self-harm when there is repetition. The difference is simple. Is the structure changing? Are they building a repair skill? Are they becoming more consistent after you name the pattern? Or are you being asked to adapt forever? If the structure is not changing, patience becomes postponement of reality. Now let us name one deeper mechanism that often sits under this because it explains why they get warm when you detach and why the warmth expires once you relax. Some avoidant people use warmth to soothe their own fear of abandonment. When you pull back, their fear rises, so they surge in with warmth. Then, once you soften, their fear calms, and closeness starts to feel engulfing, so the warmth expires again. That creates push-pull. It can feel like destiny. It is not destiny. It is two fears taking turns. Their fear of abandonment pulls them close. Their fear of engulfment pushes them away. Your fear of abandonment pulls you toward them when they cool. Your fear of losing the bond makes you overfunction. The loop keeps itself alive. The way you break it is not by becoming colder or playing games. The way you break it is by changing access. You do not give full partner access to someone who refuses partner structure. You do not deepen intimacy with someone who has not proven repair. You slow down vulnerability until you see continuity. You require a baseline. Kind does not mean unprotected. Love does not mean unlimited access. Empathy does not mean you accept a relationship shape that harms you. If you want to stay connected, the structure has to become safer. That means fewer peaks that you pay for with crashes. That means a steadier baseline. That means communication during space, not silence. That means repair after a rupture, not pretending. If you want language you can actually use without sounding dramatic, keep it short and structural. You can say, "I enjoy being close with you. I am not available for closeness that disappears without communication. If you need space, tell me and give me a return time." Or you can say, "I like you. Before we go back to normal, we need to agree on what happens next time you feel overwhelmed after closeness." Or you can say, "I want something steady. If you cannot offer steadiness, I will step back." These sentences do not beg. They do not attack. They do not try to trap them. They simply protect your nervous system, and they reveal capacity. Now, for the avoidant listener who recognizes themselves, here is the simplest upgrade that prevents harm without trapping you. If closeness overwhelms you, do not vanish. Communicate space with a return time. That one skill keeps warmth from expiring into damage. It keeps trust intact. It lets you regulate without creating panic in the other person. It also forces you to build a relationship with your own discomfort instead of escaping it through distance. If you cannot do that, your relationships will keep repeating this story. People will keep feeling safe with you for a moment, then unsafe, and you will keep calling it incompatibility when it is actually a regulation pattern. Now, let us close with the recalibration that will protect your whole dating life. Stop asking, "Do they like me?" Start asking, "Do they have the capacity to hold a steady baseline after closeness?" Stop asking, "How do I keep them warm?" Start asking, "What does this pattern cost me?" Stop auditioning for peace. Require structure. Require clarity. Require repair. Because being chosen is not a feeling they give you in a warm moment. Being chosen is a structure they build with you over time. If they cannot build that, you do not need to hate them. You simply stop participating in a role that costs you your peace. The goal is not to be kept warm in bursts. The goal is to be held in a steady bond where you do not have to guess, manage, shrink, or beg for continuity. Welcome to Psych Bond. You're safe here.